Thank you so much for coming back and being with us. I hope you've been enjoying the things I've been uploading, Catching Fire videos, Songs from District 12 album review. And today, I hope you're ready because we're going to talk about Mockingjay. Before we begin, I do just want to say if you want to subscribe to me, I think that'd be great for both of us. If you want to like this video, I think that'd be great for both of us. Anything that makes me feel good, I'm never going to say no to. I also will just remind again that I live on the bottom floor of an apartment right beside every air conditioning unit. So while I have cranked up my air to 75 so it doesn't flip on while wearing the sweater, I'm very dedicated. I cannot control everyone else in this building, so you will probably hear air kicking on and off. I have already recorded so much of this video, and then I looked, and oh my god, wouldn't you know it, there is no fucking sound because I always have issues with sound for some reason. I can't win with sound. Anyway, as you can see, there are so many characters in this goddamn movie slash book, so we are just going to jump right into it. Mockingjay is the third book in the original Hunger Games trilogy, third and final book, and it was split into two movies because that's what they were doing with movies at the time. I say at the time, it's happening literally right now. They were released in November of 2014 and 2015, I believe. The only good thing about having a birthday that happens near Thanksgiving is that all of the fun movies come out then. All right, so I know that normally I start these off with a little breakdown of each of the characters on the board, but there are 28 of them, so I'm not going to. We're just going to talk about them as they arrive. The first thing I need to tell you is that the book and movie start in a little bit of a different way. I think this is mostly because in the movie you would have to be doing a really long flashback to part the information in the same way that they do in the book, and that's really not great for a visual medium. So they put a part at the beginning where Katniss is in the hospital after the events that just happened after the Quarter Quell, and she sees Finnick, and you can tell that she's still upset with Finnick. In the book, we start right in District 12, which is where we go right after that scene in the movie. So let's just start there. Katniss is standing in the rubble of District 12. The capital has firebombed everything except the Victor's village. She walks out. There are dead bodies everywhere, honestly. She even kicks a skull as soon as she gets off the hovercraft. It's very traumatizing. The first voice we hear belongs to one Gale Hawthorne. Now, I know. He is in this book a lot more than the others, and so I've decided that I am going to try to be nice. If I start off really vengeful and angry with him, where will we go from there? We'll have nowhere to go from there. So I'm going to be nice, and I will only become mean if absolutely necessary. And I'm going to start early. I'm going to give him his props. Katniss wants to go down to 12 on her own, and Gale lets her and does not push the issue. That's very good for him to do. We learned specifically that about 90% of District 12 did not survive the Capitol's bombs. Only 800 people made their way to District 13, which is where everyone is living now. Now, District 13, let's discuss. I know I talked about it in my very first Hunger Games video, but that was a very long time ago, so I will do you the service of telling you about it a little bit again. The thing about 13, though, is that they are very regimented. They will print schedules on their arms every single day, and the leader of 13, Alma Coin, is not my favorite person. She honestly kind of rivals Gale just a little bit. Not a lot, but a little. It's a different kind of hate. Katniss very much blames herself for the fact that District 12 was bombed, and I do understand this impulse in this case because in ways, honestly, maybe yes, but I still think it's not productive to be blaming yourself for it. Okay, something really nice about Gale is that he is credited with single-handedly getting everyone that did get out of District 12 out of District 12. That's so good. That's so great that he saved all of those lives. I hope he doesn't do anything later to completely negate that. But yay, I'm being nice. Katniss is really absorbing all of the death and destruction, and she's about to get back on the hovercraft, but before she leaves, she's able to go back into her old house. She takes a few things with her. She takes her father's hunting jacket, her mother's wedding photo, the book her and Peeta were working on with all of the plants in it, and also Prim's cat, Buttercup. I love this fucking cat so much. Oh my god, what a cutie. Katniss, on the other hand, hates that fucking cat so much. Oh my god, what a terrible piece of shit. That's what she would say, not me. Katniss is about to leave the room and get back on the hovercraft when she starts smelling roses. You know where I'm going with this. She looks over on her dresser, and in a vase of dried up flowers, she finds one pristine, completely kept rose. She gets back on the hovercraft. She tells no one about this, not even Gale. It's traumatizing. In the movie, while all of this is happening and throughout the whole thing, they do add some scenes of Snow because how can you not? He's such a good villain. It's mainly like things of like unsettling things in the district, a lot of harsh punishment that he's enacting, his little like quips about what his plans are. It doesn't change the story at all, though, in any case. The first thing Katniss does when she gets back to 13 is go back to the compartment that she shares with her mother and sister. She gives Prim the cat. They're like, they're not going to let you keep this cat. And she's like, just hide the cat. That night at dinner, everyone is eating, and then the TV comes on with an announcement from the Capitol. And on the TV, Caesar Flickerman is interviewing Peeta Millar. Peeta was presumed dead up until this point in time. We're just hoping that he's alive, and now that hope has been founded. He's alive and secure, but why is he being interviewed with Caesar? He looks well. He doesn't look like he's being starved. He looks fine. He seems to be doing okay. I think seems is the key word here, but others might not agree. Peeta is going to great lengths to defend Katniss to Caesar and therefore the rest of the Capitol. He's very adamant that Katniss didn't know what was happening, had no idea of the revolution, and didn't know what she was doing when she shot her arrow into the force field, which is true. All of those things are true. It's what happens next that kind of sours him in the eyes of all of the rebels in 13. Peeta ends up calling for a ceasefire. I think that there are in ways merit to this, but Katniss is kind of aware that at this point there is no going back. They would be relentlessly punished by the Capitol if they were to do anything else. As soon as Peeta calls for this ceasefire, Katniss can hear everyone else in the dining hall start to get very upset and restless. They start calling Peeta a traitor, and Katniss runs out of the room. Gale follows her. I hope he handles this well. Now, Katniss is feeling a lot of conflicted feelings right now, because she is glad that Peeta is alive and well, but also knows that this is probably going to end poorly for him and knows that there can in no way be a ceasefire. When Gale gets to her where she's sitting outside, in the book we also learn that their friendship has gone back to normal and Gale has not pushed the issue of him being in love with her, which, genuinely, zero snark. I'm very glad. I am glad to see that he is in ways growing and maturing as one should do. I fear we'll backslide. I know we'll backslide. I've listened to the whole book this week before I did this. I know we'll backslide. But right now, I am very proud of him. Gale remarks that everything Peeta is doing, he is probably doing in order to keep Katniss safe, which is when Katniss first makes the connection that even though there is a revolution and no Hunger Games happening, everything that's transpiring is basically just the lead up to the 76th annual Hunger Games. We're still in the arena. While Katniss is kind of reckoning with all of this, she also decides that she must become the Mockingjay. When Katniss gets back to the compartment, she kind of has a nice moment with Prim late into the night when she can't sleep. She's feeling nervous about being the Mockingjay, doesn't really know what it entails and feels apprehensive. And Prim is like, they need you really badly. You could ask for anything and they would give it to you. You should just ask them to pardon Peeta. Katniss is like, that is a great fucking... Well, why didn't I think of that? That's a great idea, Prim. Thank you so much. So the next morning, it's time to go down to command to meet with both Snow and our dear friend Plutarch. Katniss gives her demands, which include a pardon for every victor, the ability to go hunt, and Prim gets to keep her cat. At first, Snow gives her pushback for this, but then Katniss kind of goes into her mode. I don't know why I did that. I didn't like that at all. And Plutarch's like, that's it. That's exactly what we're looking for. That's the Mockingjay right there. So eventually, Coin agrees to do this, but Katniss also says that Coin must announce it publicly to everyone that there will be a pardon. Because the thing about Coin is that she's a little slimy. She's just got that air about her, you know? She's a little slimy, a little slippery. She seems very calculated and a little conniving. So Katniss knows that if she doesn't get her to publicly announce it, it will be very easy for her to renege on the deal because Katniss is smart and can see when she's being played by manipulative people. I don't like Coin. Okay, there's a kind of big thing that happens right here that's very different from the book and the movie. So in the book, Plutarch takes Katniss down into the prison system below 13, and they find her prep team chained up, obviously badly beaten. It seems they've been starved, and Katniss is appalled by this. How could the officials in 13 be treating people this way just because they're from the capital? They haven't done anything wrong. How are they any better than the capital if they're doing stuff like this? In the movie, Plutarch goes to get Effie, and she's not really being held prisoner. She's just become a shut-in, and he literally says, "You're not a political prisoner," and then she agrees to help Katniss. I understand the impulse because when you have Elizabeth Banks, you use Elizabeth Banks. However, I wish they hadn't erased the whole thing about 13 being just as cruel. I think that it makes the payoff at the end be not as worth it. I'm not going to spoil it. We'll get there. And I think that it's really good commentary on like what makes someone a villain. And I wish that that had been able to be put in the movie, but I understand why it wasn't. Another thing that isn't super important that happens some is that because Effie is given a much bigger part in the movie, she's like not in the book at all. Some things that other characters do have been given to her. It's not important and it doesn't really affect anything, so I probably won't make note of it unless it's like glaring. At this point, Katniss is given a sketchbook, and in it she sees designs for a Mockingjay outfit, and she instantly knows that this was drawn by Cinna. Cinna is very obviously dead. I don't think any of us thought that he survived whatever happened to him right before the Quarter Quell. But he made all of these designs before he died and didn't want them to be shown to her until she agreed on her own to become the Mockingjay. The thing about one of Katniss's conditions being that she's allowed to go hunt is not in the movie. I really only brought it up because her and Gale are gonna start being really passive aggressive to each other again, and most of that starts in the woods when they're hunting. So Gale is like, I don't understand why you care so much that Coin was like holding your prep team captive. They hate you. And Katniss is like, I think it's maybe a bit more complicated than that, bud. And he's like, no, I don't think so. But I'm not trying to argue. You know what? Doubt. Something about me doubts you're not trying to argue, but I digress. Katniss refuses to take his hand for help to get off the ground, and just like that, the tension has returned. We're being passive aggressive. The girls are fighting. I feel like I'm almost free. Mind you, we have known Peeta is alive for less than 24 hours, and we're already starting to act this way. So, could it be possible that our relationship only improved because we felt there was no competition because someone was dead? I don't know. I am being nice. So after they get back from that, it's time for Coin to make the public announcement that all of the victors will be pardoned. Everything goes well. In the movie, they kind of expand upon the dynamic between Coin and Plutarch, and I think that's very fun because they are very much foils of each other. So exploring that adds some good comedic bits between them, and also shows worldview differences in a very big way. One thing that Katniss was not expecting is that Coin adds this caveat in the middle of her speech where if Katniss does not fulfill all of her duties as the Mockingjay, the deal can be rescinded at any point in time. The thing is that it's not really clearly laid out what it means, so if Coin wanted to, at any point in time, she could simply be like, I don't think you're doing that well enough. You're not the Mockingjay anymore, and I'm killing Peeta. And Katniss has a problem with that. Now that Katniss has agreed to be the Mockingjay, we are in the process of making her over. In the book, Prep Team's doing this. Movie, It's Effie. One thing that gets explored more in the book that I wish I could have seen in the movie is the dynamic between Gale and Coin. They are, you could say, two sides of the same coin. Lame. Gale agrees with Coin on everything, even to Katniss's detriment. She'll be like, I don't understand why he always has to agree with Coin. I really just want to feel like he understands me. And I don't know either. Maybe because he's like an idiot. I don't know. No, I'm being nice. After she's all dolled up, she's sent down to Special Defenses, which is where we see Beetee again for the first time. Beetee is now in a wheelchair. I do not know exactly what circumstance landed him there. I can't really think of an injury that would lead to it, but it's okay. It's very high tech in there, and while they're there, Beetee gives Katniss her new bow and arrow, which works mostly like a regular bow and arrow. The best thing about it is that the arrows are special. So you have the regular arrows, but then you also have incendiary arrows. They light on fire. And explosive arrows. So she can do a lot more damage and do a lot more shit with them. So now Katniss is suited up. She has her weapon. She is sent down into the studio to start recording propos, which is what Plutarch calls propaganda films. Here's the thing. Our dear, sweet Katniss. Dear, sweet, sweet Katniss cannot act for shit. It's bad. It's clunky. It's weird. It's impersonal. It's just bad. It's bad. You start to hear Haymitch slow clapping, and then he comes out and is like, and that is how a revolution dies, because he's a little shit. Haymitch pulls everyone aside and is like, okay, brainstorming session. Name right now one time that you were genuinely moved by Katniss, not because Peeta made you like her. Ooh. He's got her there. And everyone starts listing some stuff, and the main through line with all of them is that they were moments where she was being authentic and no one was telling her what to do. So then the idea is proposed that a film crew follow Katniss around. We send her into combat zones that aren't really active combat zones to get real field footage of her to use to make these films. Coin is very hesitant, but she does agree. So she is sent into District 8 with a crew. We'll get into who's there in a second. District 8 was bombed that very morning, but because of that, they're thinking nothing else is going to happen that way, so everyone suits up and gets ready to head that way. Now, who all is there in 8? Great question. I'd love to answer it for you. We have, obviously, Katniss. Gale is accompanying her, and then Cressida is the director of all of the propos that Katniss will be doing. She is a very cool person. And then she has her crew. Castor and Pollock are her cameramen, and then Masala is kind of just like her assistant director, I would say, in a way. And so they are going with her everywhere out in the field. When they get to 8, they are greeted by Commander Paler, who decides that she's going to take them into their makeshift hospital so that they can meet the patients there. Katniss doesn't really like this idea. She thinks it's bad. She knows that this is not really her strong suit, like the comforting, kind words. That was always Peeta's thing. But she decides to try it anyway. A little tidbit. While they're walking in, Gale's like, you sure you want to have all these people in one place? And Paler's like, anyway, because what else is she supposed to do? Leave them into the street to die? Like, yeah, maybe it's not a strategic advantage, but what is the alternative there, Gale? Do you think before you speak? Oh, no. Nice. Gale has such a strategic mind, and I'm so glad he puts it to good use. Moving on. They go in. Katniss is very almost standoffish and on guard, but everyone is very nice to her, and they are also moved by her. And this is a moment where she starts to realize just how much effect she does have. They want to know all about her. This is also where we kind of drop the tidbit that because Peeta made up the baby story, she is kind of adding in that she lost the baby. It isn't true. The baby wasn't real, but that's kind of the cover that they're giving to not make Peeta seem like a big fat liar, because that's not what he needs right now, because everybody's already kind of miffed at him. Now, this hospital is packed, filled to the brim with wounded people. They have so many wounded in District 8. Katniss takes her time to speak to as many of them as she can, and then as they're headed back to the hovercraft, the siren bombs start to go off because the Capitol is leading another offensive. None of the bombs seem to really be falling on Katniss, though, and that's when they realize that they're bombing near the hospital. So Katniss and Gale break away from the rest of the squad. They disobey direct orders because that's who Katniss is as a person. And they go up on a roof and they start shooting arrows at the Capitol hovercrafts, and they do manage to take a couple down. But then the Capitol directly bombs the hospital. And the roof caves in, and it's all on fire, effectively trapping everyone inside, and there will be no survivors. Cressida gets her camera out, records Katniss in the moment. She's feeling very emotional. This is where she works the best, and Katniss gives a very impassioned speech. This is where her very famous line, "If we burn, you burn with us," comes from. Fire is catching, all of that. This is a very wonderful part, and Katniss is very good at what she does in the moment, and Haymitch was, of course, right because he knows her well. Okay, I do think, real quick, gonna scooch on over. I do think we maybe need to have a bit of a conversation. Everybody settle in. These events should feel familiar to you if you're paying attention. I think that for the movies, and ideally I'm going to be like showing you pictures and videos from the movie and the set right now, the filmmakers went through like painstaking work to create a realistic atmosphere where the terror and the grief is almost palpable. Looking at these clips, you can see the way that the Capitol overstepped and performed just unjustly cruel acts against innocent civilians for no reason. Against the wounded, against people that were helpless, had no way of fighting back, would not be able to do anything to ever rise against the Capitol again at this point. And something that I would like for you to know is that I actually have not been showing you pictures and video from the Mockingjay set. I am showing you pictures and video of Gaza. Here's the thing. You cannot read these books, watch these movies without getting it. It's blatant. It's verbatim. It is a ruling government that wants nothing more than to subjugate an entire group of people by any means necessary, with the murder of civilians, the wounded, children. They do this indiscriminately, and we have to talk about it. It can feel so big and scary and helpless, especially here in America, where there's already so much going on within our own borders, to then be worried about a genocide that's happening on the other side of the world. But we have to care because our government is one of the chief funders of the Israeli offensive, and I can only see that number increasing under our current president. Hi, editing me. Obviously, this situation has progressed exponentially since I filmed this video. I hope I'm not the one to break this news to you on this YouTube video, but the U.S. has become directly involved in this conflict, which Israel escalated to include Iran, and now we have directly bombed Iran. So I say all this, and I mention it because I'm about to talk about some stuff that, in comparison to what's happening right now, might seem a little passive, but just know at the time that I filmed this, it was not to this level of a problem. But I think that a lot of it still applies, so I'm leaving it in. But I do just want you to know that I know that things are worse now. Back to me. And I don't say all of that to sound preachy. The thing is that I also do not have a snap your fingers and everything's okay solution. What I can do is provide you with resources. So I have put a couple links in the description. These will contain ways of like how to contact your lawmakers to make sure that they know that you don't support that as one of their constituents. Links to charities will probably also be available in the description, and even ways to like talk to people that you know about this issue. I don't really have anything else to say to put a perfect little button on this, but I did feel like it was important to talk about because what just happened in this book is page right out of the handbook of how Israel has been acting with Palestine. And I think you can't engage in this specific media and just be complicit. I think that you can't do that. I think you have to do whatever you can. And I am just some bitch on the internet, so it's not like I'm storming the castle. But I can talk about it. I'm really good at talking for long, extended periods of time, obviously. And I can use what I have available to me and use the resources that I'm providing you as well. I plan on also using them to do things. I'm in Georgia, so I don't really have super receptive lawmakers except for senators, but I can do my damnedest. I can try my hardest. Essentially, if what I just described in this book enraged you and filled you with a mix of unspeakable emotions, what's happening in the real world in Palestine should fill you with the same emotions, and you should be enraged, and you should want to do something about it. Let's get back into it. So they're able to leave 8 pretty much unscathed, and later that night they are eating dinner when, just like the first time, all of a sudden Caesar Flickerman is on the screen interviewing PETA again. But PETA does not really look like PETA anymore at this point. He is obviously weak. He has lost a lot of weight. He looks like he's starving. He's looking a little rough around the edges. Maybe they're starting to beat him. Katniss isn't sure, but she knows that something is wrong. And he changed so quickly. He speaks directly to Katniss for most of this interview, and he's like, do you really trust the people that you're working with? The thing is that the answer is like a resounding no, to be honest. She doesn't trust Coin. She honestly is pretty up in the air about Gale at this point, but she also knows that PETA isn't correct. And then she can look at him now and she's like, well, obviously he's saying whatever he needs to say because they're hurting him badly. In the book, it's just Finnick and Katniss watching the TV alone when that interview comes up, and it sets in motion a really big fight between her and Gale. They're being passive aggressive. What the fuck else is new? Because Gale doesn't think that she saw it and doesn't tell her about it either because he's crazy. Katniss is called back to production, and she's told that they're going to go back to District 12 to film some more propos. They spend most of the time that they're there talking to Gale about the rescue because Katniss is feeling a little numb to the world after seeing PETA in that state. They do get some good footage of her, though. They're all hanging out by the lake in District 12, and Pollux, who... It is important that you know that he is an AVOX. If you don't recall, an AVOX is someone who gets punished by the Capitol and has their tongue taken out. So he can't speak, but he kind of like signs in a way. I don't think it's specifically actually American Sign Language, but motions to Katniss that she should sing a song. So then she sings The Hanging Tree. Of course, all of the birds fall silent, just like for her father, the thing that PETA was always aware of. I'm always going to find a way to romanticize PETA, even if he is being beaten and bruised by the Capitol, because he is a sweet boy when he is being himself. Oh, God, wait, I forgot. Okay, while they're in 12, also, Gale and Katniss go back to her house again, and he's like, this is where you kissed me. And she's like, I didn't think you remembered that. And he's like, I could never forget that. And she kisses him again, and he's like, I knew you would do that. And she's like, I didn't know I'd do that. He's like, oh, I'm in pain. That's the only time you give me attention. Bitch. I do think there is, honestly, a little bit of merit to what he says. But I think that he is saying it as if it's malicious intent and like she's doing that shit on purpose. And I think that's crazy. I don't understand him. I don't understand him. I will never understand. And I don't wish to. I don't want to be in that brain. Oh my God. Ugh. Like, there is something to be said about the fact that she only shows him physical affection when things are at like critical mass and shit is hitting the fan. But I also think there is something to be said for setting someone up for some big gotcha moment over something so important as that. Like, why are you like exploiting her weaknesses like that? Oh my God, I hate him. No, I don't. No. He's very good. He's very good. Yay, Gale! Yay, Gale! I can't do it much longer. I'm gonna snap in a second. Okay, so some time passes. They're back in 12. Katniss is called to the command center, and she is told that they have been able to take over the Capitol's like TV system, whatever the proper technical word for that is that I cannot remember and cannot be bothered to look up. Because Beatty is a tech guy and he designed the system, so he knows how to infiltrate it, and they are going to show pieces of the propo that they made in 12 earlier later that night. They don't really know exactly what's going to come on the screen, but what they do find is another interview between Caesar and Peeta. And Peeta looks even worse. He is even skinnier. He looks even more frail. It's just really bad. And the way that he looks in the movie is a little horrific, honestly. Beatty is able to cut in with like a very quick second of Katniss singing The Hanging Tree. And it comes back and Peeta's able to see it on a monitor and he's like, Katniss? And you can tell that he's dazed. It almost looks like he's trying to shake himself out of a stupor. Beatty and the Capitol are kind of fighting back and forth for control over the airwaves. Beatty keeps winning. Peeta keeps getting more confused. And he's trying really hard to focus on what they're wanting him to say, but he keeps seeing Katniss and it keeps distracting him. And then at the end of it, it seems like he's fighting against himself almost to like get something out. And at the end of it, he's like, what do you think is going to come of this war? And you in District 13, dead by morning. And then the camera knocks over. You can see that he is being like beaten by the people in the Capitol. It's not good. It's bad. It's not good. And Katniss is like, they're hurting him so bad because they are. The camera cuts abruptly. We're back with just the people in 13, and they're like, so something bad's about to happen, like immediately, like the Capitol is planning something and Peeta has become aware of it, and he just tried to warn us to the best of his ability given the circumstances, and he was punished greatly for it. Coin's a little like, honestly, really slow on the uptake here. I really wish she could have put some speed into this. She was pissing me off a little bit with just her contemplation. No time for contemplation, but she agrees. They go into a big drill, but it's not a drill, and everyone in 13 is sent down under to a bunker. It's a lot of people going down all at once. Katniss heads straight to the bunker. She's one of the first people to get there, but then her mom shows up and Prim isn't there, and Katniss is like, hello, where is Prim? And her mom's like, I thought Prim was with you. I would ask, why the hell would Prim be with Katniss when Katniss is off doing God knows what all day long? But I will refrain because her mom is trying. Katniss is like, her wheels are spinning. She's trying to figure out where Prim could be. And then she realizes that Prim went to get the stupid fucking cat. So Katniss flies out of the bunker, starts going up the stairs, and Prim is coming down the stairs with Gale. Gale went back up to get her, and they barely make it in, but they do, and then the doors close behind them. And everyone is safe in the bunker, and like a minute later, bombs start raining down from the Capitol onto District 13. Peeta was correct, and he saved all of their lives. I will just say I'm so glad that Gale saved Prim's life. That's like so good of him to do, to save Katniss's sister and always assure that she is safe. I'm so glad that he did that right now, and he will continue to do that for the rest of his life. Right? Right? So basically, just so we're clear, Peeta Mellark just saved every single person in District 13 at great personal cost, fighting against everything that the Capitol was trying to do to him to make that happen, and he is a hero. Y'all got it? Good, just checking. Katniss develops this game with a flashlight and the cat, and everyone's having a good time, and then she kind of realizes something in the middle, and she pulls Finnick to the side, and she's like, Snow is treating me just like this cat. He's dangling Peeta in front of me. How are you surviving this? Because the Capitol has also captured Peeta's love, Annie. She's obviously not being used in the same way. But just the knowledge is enough. The next morning, the bombing has ended. There's obviously been damage to 13 on a very superficial level, but everyone has survived. No one has died. Katniss and Finnick are sent outside to film a new propo for that night. This happens a little bit different in the movie, and I think the movie is much more intriguing, so I'm going to go down that in a second, but the events of the day are basically the same. So Katniss does go outside to try to film a propo, but then she has a breakdown because it's fully hit her that Snow is hurting Peeta to get to her. Peeta is a pawn. He's being used. And she can't handle that anymore, so she kind of like disappears. Haymitch finds her and comes to tell her that they are doing a mission at that very moment to save Peeta and the rest of the victors from the capital. They realize that she will not be able to perform as long as he is there, and her performing is the main point, so they've said it's a risk, but we're going to have to take it or we are not going to succeed. And it was a volunteer-only mission, and Gale was one of the first people to sign up. That is genuinely good. I am glad that he did that. So the mission is about to start. Katniss makes her way to the command center to watch what's happening, and she sees that Finnick is outside being filmed by the Propo crew. She's like, what is he doing? And they are choosing to use him as a distraction. So he gets up there and he starts talking. We learn a lot more about Finnick here, and we learn a lot more about Snow here. So Finnick reveals that in the capital, the victors are basically sold away to the highest bidder. Snow does this for the reasons that you think. To like assuage their guilt, everyone that was with Finnick would try to give him money and gifts, but he said that he found a much better form of payment was secrets. And he is going to now, on live TV, spill the secrets of a bunch of people in the capital, but what matters is Snow. And here is what we learn about good old President Snow. He is a vindictive bitch, that we did know, but he does it in a way that's honestly surprising. Snow has a habit of taking down anyone that opposes him politically or makes him look bad. And the way in which he does this is poison. But in order to not draw suspicion, Snow has to ingest the poison as well. And it does not always go great for him. That's why he bleeds from the mouth, has sores. He always has the rose on his lapel to cover the smell of the blood from the sores in his mouth. Finnick has struck a nerve. The mission is underway, and then all of a sudden, though, the capital's defenses start to come back online, and they're worried that everyone doing the mission is going to get caught, so Katniss is like, let me talk to Snow, put me on live right now, let me talk to Snow. This happens in a way that's almost a video call, which I don't really understand how that could be, but I'm going to let it slide because it plays really well. She's going back and forth with Snow. This is where we get a pretty famous part of the movie, and it was used in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes trailer as well. Snow is kind of being very, like, sassy to Katniss, as he always is. And he's like, remember, it's the things we love most that destroy us. And then he smiles, and he's like, remember that I said that. What's that mean? And he's like, sinister look, sinister look. And then he's like, don't you think I know your friends are in the tribute center? And then cuts the feed. What? 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 God, he's such a damn good villain. Oh my God. They don't hear anything for hours. The communication cuts out for everyone that's doing the mission too, so no one is really sure if they're safe. And then eventually, they return. Everyone has made it out. All of the victors have been returned. Gale is safe. Boggs is safe. It was almost too easy. He knew that they were there, could have shot them out of the sky on their way back up, and didn't. And Gale is very like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know why that would be. So returning with us is Joanna Mason is back. She is now bald. The Capitol shaved her head and also tortured her in a modicum of ways. We also have Ina Baria, that lady from 2, unimportant. And, of course, Annie, Finnick's love, is also fine. Her and Finnick run up to each other and embrace, and it's very heartwarming. And then they say that Peeta was affected by the gas, like the other people in the Capitol were, but he's waking up now, and Katniss should be the first one to see him. She's so excited, and she walks into his room. He looks genuinely terrible, like an upsetting amount of terrible. And then she's like, Peeta. And he looks at her, gets up, walks towards her. She's like, we're going to hug. We're going to reunite. I've missed him so much. This is so great. And instead, he chokes her out to the point to where she almost dies. And Boggs has to hit him over the head and knock him out so he doesn't kill her. What? Katniss wakes up in the hospital. Plutarch, Beetee, and Boggs are there. They are explaining to her what they think has happened to Peeta. So Peeta has undergone what the Capitol called hijacking. So this is when you use Tracker Jacker venom. If you'll remember from the first book, when Katniss was in the arena, she got stung by Tracker Jackers and she had these crazy hallucinations. So they use the fact that the Tracker Jacker venom gives you hallucinations, but they pair it with a fear response. So essentially what they're doing is rewriting all of the memories that Peeta has of Katniss and making it where she is dangerous and trying to kill him so that he will try to kill her. That's why Snow said all that evil shit about it being what we love that destroys us. That's why it was so easy for them to get him out. Snow wanted him sent like a gift to Katniss to kill her, and if not kill her, destroy her from the inside out. And it is working. In the book, we also learn that Peeta's stylist and prep team were executed on live TV the very same night that everything was going on. So this is where part one of the movie ends. It's kind of bookended by Coin giving a rousing speech about nothing really in particular, just saying that the mission was successful. Intercut with Peeta thrashing around like a madman strapped to a bed because he's gone crazy, and Katniss like watching him in horror, and then we're cut to credits. No more of that. Since we are done with part one and we're heading into part two, I do just need to make sure that everyone is aware. I think we all know, but between and during the filming of these two movies, Philip Seymour Hoffman, who plays Plutarch, unfortunately passed away. So there are some things from this point on that get reworked a little bit. It's nothing glaring. There's only one big thing that they change, and it's very obvious that they change it because he passed away. It's near the very end, and I'll let you know when we get there. So they finally take the collar off of Katniss's neck at the start of the second movie. Her vocal cords were so swollen, so she can also barely speak. She really wants to be sent to District 2 to go on a mission. She doesn't want to be here. She doesn't want to be looking at Peeta. But they're doing some stuff, and it's kind of helping. They're basically running little experiments, trying to figure out what's going on and seeing if there's anything that will break through to him to kind of lift whatever fog is in his mind. It's a slightly different thing in the book and movie. So in the book, this is Deli Cartwright, their friend from home. In the movie, they use Prim for this. I'll explain what it is, and then I'll talk about that a little bit more. I think it's a little bit of a strange choice. So she goes and she watches through the window, and they send Deli/Prim in to talk to him, and they're having a normal conversation, and it's going well. So it's not everything that's messed up for him. It's just things that specifically involve Katniss. And then he's like, District 12 burned down. And they're like, yes. And then he starts working himself up into a tizzy. And then he's like, it was Katniss. It was Katniss's fault. She's a mutt. She's a monster. And Katniss is like watching him say all of this. And that's when she's like, I would like to go to District 2. Please get me out of here. I cannot watch this happen. This is torturous. This is just very not good. I would like Sweet Peeta back, please. I know it's great for the plot or whatever, but I can't handle him being this way. This is not the Peeta that I know, you know? And also, this is not good because Katniss already feels like everything is her fault all the time, and this is like the one person that always like comforted her and had nice kind words for her, and now he is also saying that everything's all her fault and calling her a mutt, and this is very bad. This is very, very bad. Okay, so I said that in the movie they used Prim to talk to PETA, and I thought that was a weird choice. Because if the whole thing is that anything directly connected to Katniss is causing him to freak out, why the hell would you send her little sister in there? That just doesn't make no damn sense to me, personally. I get why they did it, because you don't want to add a bunch of characters for no reason, and then, Prim's a good character to do it. She's very gentle and kind, but I think that would set him off immediately, and it doesn't. And I think that's only just for the movie logic to take place. Anyway, that's all of my tangent on that. So Katniss is being sent to District 2. Gale and Beetee are also in District 2 with her. This is where we meet Lime, who is the commander of District 2. On the hovercraft over there, this happens a little earlier in the book, but it's not important. Katniss hears Gale and Beetee talking about making various kinds of weaponry based off of hunting traps that Gale uses, but then they also start talking about maybe making some things that kind of play off of human emotion. Gale is discussing this idea that he had for a very specific type of bomb. So, a bomb goes off. There is a lull. There is time for medics or people trying to help and get to their loved ones to swarm in towards the bomb victims. And then a second, larger bomb goes off to kill all of those people as well. And Katniss is like, hey, that's fucked. And Gale's like, it's the same thing that Capitol did when they hijacked PETA. Rot in hell. Gale is becoming increasingly more off-putting and unhinged and radical in a way that is a little bit scary. And this is just kind of the start of that descent down. So they're off the hovercraft. They're in District 2. They have met Commander Lime, who is in charge of 2. She was a victor in one of the past Hunger Games. That's why Katniss recognizes her instantly. The main thing that they're trying to figure out in District 2 is how to get into the one Capitol stronghold. District 2 is the one district that has not turned fully against the Capitol. There is a large rebel presence there, but the Capitol still has control, and its big military base, now that 13 is gone, is located in 2. It is called the Nut. Listen, I know, okay, but we can't blame Suzanne for the way that we talk now 12 years ago. That's not her fault. So I'm going to say the Nut a lot for the next few minutes, and y'all are going to have to not be childish about it. I mean, you can be. It is objectively funny, but don't tell me about it. Just laugh to yourself every time I say it, and don't tell me that you're doing it, because I don't want to be perceived saying the Nut over and over again, even though I'm about to. I don't want to know that you're... Anyway, not fucking important. I'm going to say the Nut a lot. How many times did I just say it? Christ. Gale says some weird shit again. He's like, when I saw PETA yesterday, I thought something really selfish. She's like, that you were glad? And he's like, no, that I can never compete with that. Yeah, you're right. That is really selfish. Also, could have been an inside thought. Did we need to share? Did we need to share? I think we didn't need to share, Gale. This isn't in the movie. Thank God I didn't have to see it. But in the book, later that night, her and Gale, make out. And Katniss is like, I have resigned myself to never getting PETA back again. You're pissing me off. Girl, you're pissing me off now. What the fuck are you talking about? The willful resignation drives me crazy in this context. I can understand it when it's you're being sent somewhere to die, but you don't know that about PETA. Give my man some time to figure his shit out, okay? And then y'all can be happy if you would just stop kissing fucking Gale. Oh, why would you want to? That's not a knock on Liam Hemsworth. It's nothing to do with any of the actors. It is about Gale's personality and the way he is as a human. Okay, so they're trying to figure out how to break into the Nut so that they can take it back. But then Gale's like, what if we didn't take it back? What if we just disabled it? And they were like, okay, I guess that's fine. We've been trying forever to get into it and we can't. So sure, why the hell not? And Gale is like, okay, so let's just cause an avalanche from the mountain above to come down and block all of the entrances. And then Boggs is like, well, how will they get out? And Gale's like, do they have to? Yes! Yes! Why do you want to kill people all the time, you fucking psycho? They're like, okay, we'll leave the train tunnel open so they can escape. And Gale's like, let's just not leave the train tunnel open. Like, so murder? Like, just some real quick mass murder for fun? Katniss, you let this man kiss you. Oh. Everyone is like, Gale, you're being fucking weird. They don't say that, but I wish they would. Oh my god. And they decide to leave the train tunnel open so that they don't kill people for no reason. The thing is that unfortunately Gale's plan is a good one, sans the fucking murder. So it is very successful and they are able to disable the nut. I think that might be the last time I have to say the nut. Thank God. Hours pass and they're waiting for anyone to come out of the train station and they're thinking that maybe everyone did indeed die inside, even though the train line was left open. But then a train does appear. Katniss is instantly reminded of what it looked like when there's a mining accident, because that's about how everyone coming out of there looks. And she immediately runs to one of these guys and then he pulls out a gun and points it at her head. He's like, give me one good reason why I should not kill you right here. And she's like, I can't. She gives this impassioned speech and then she's like, don't be Snow's slave. And he's like, I'm not his slave. And she's like, I am. That's why I killed Cato and Cato killed Thresh and Thresh killed Clove. It's a cycle and I want it to end. And I just think that's very impactful. She also says in her speech that she did not want to be a piece in his games, which is Peeta's line from the first one. Peeta! And the speech is very effective and everyone kind of chills out a bit, but then another guy, not the guy near her, still shoots Katniss. Now, luckily, Katniss was given very specialized armor by Cinna and it was bulletproof, so she is not actually shot, but she does have very badly bruised ribs and a bruised lung, and she is back in the hospital when she comes to again. We're living in the hospital at this point. I guess District 13 has socialized healthcare. When she's in the hospital, Joanna Mason comes in. It turns out they're sharing a room together. Joanna comes in, instantly unhooks Katniss from her morphling and gives it to herself because the doctors weaned her off because they noticed she was getting addicted to it. And they have a little bit of a bantery conversation. They still don't like each other that much, but there's definitely respect there. Gale even comes to see her in the hospital, and they're really sweet to each other for like 10 seconds and then they start arguing again. Yeah. No, I think you should definitely argue about the same thing for the 5th time. I think that it will definitely have a different outcome when you do it for the 5th time. Go ahead and try. Go ahead and try. Be my fucking guest. Go ahead. Order of events is a little flippy in the movie, but it doesn't really matter. Katniss finally goes to see Peeta again, and they're being very catty with each other. But it's not terrible. It just seems very much like a thing where it's like, I think that Peeta's never coming back to be the way that he was. Now, in the movie, they decide to make Peeta really mean again for no reason. I think they could have left this out. I could have lived without hearing him say that he should have given the bread to the pigs instead of her. That's not Peeta. Don't make him say that. You didn't even, that was an active choice that you made to make him say that. That's not in the book. Why would you do that? Why would you do that to us? Francis Lawrence, is that who? I think that's who directed it. They also decided they're going to throw a wedding for Finnick and Annie because they're in love and have been in love. And, they're going to kind of film it. Plutarch's going to use it to do a propo to kind of show to the rest of everyone else that everyone's still happy. They want Snow to see Katniss dancing. And then very big departure between book and movie here. In the movie, at the wedding, Katniss and Joanna have a conversation where Katniss decides she wants to go kill Snow. And Joanna's like, okay, I'll cause a distraction for you. There is a, plane with aid leaving for the capital tonight. You should sneak on that. And she does. In the book, prolonged training montage type thing happening where Joanna and Katniss are both trying to be able to get into the army. We learn some stuff about Joanna here, though. That's really the only reason I'm mentioning it. Um, she was like essentially waterboarded and then electrocuted by the Capitol, and she refuses to shower or anything like that. She can't be near water anymore. There's also this part where they're eating dinner, and all of a sudden, PETA is also in the dining hall, so they're starting to loosen his restrictions. And he's acting really cocky and weird and not like the PETA he should be acting like if he was going to be Sweet Boy PETA. I just triggered myself on something really not related to anything happening in this video when I said stats, but it's so fine. We're going to keep going. Oh, fuck. PETA starts showing up to the training, which makes her really antsy because why is this man being given a gun? Question mark. A crazy fucking thing that happens in the book at this point is that after that dinner where PETA shows up and he is being a little shit, Gale is like, that's so crazy. I recognize that hatred he has for you so well. I used to feel that way. What? What? You're you are openly and outwardly admitting that this man who has been hijacked by the Capitol, his mind completely taken over, not his own, hates Katniss because in his mind, she's going to murder him. You feel that same type of way because what? She don't want to date you? Bitch. Bitch. I heard that when I was listening to this audiobook this week and I was floored. I texted my friends about it. Anyway, book and movie are converging back together again. We have ended up in the Capitol at the actual base and we're getting ready to go to war. Katniss has been put in a special unit, aka we're going to film you. That's all that's going to happen. And in that unit with her is Gale, Boggs, Jackson, Mitchell, the League twins, and Holmes. When they're there and they realize they're being filmed, that means that also coming along, we now have Cressida, Castor Pollux, and Masala are also all there. So these are all the people that are going into the Capitol with this squad. They have this thing called a holo, and on it they can see a map of where all these pods are, which are basically booby traps that the Capitol has set up to go off if anyone touches them. Finnick. Oh my god, Finnick's there too. So sorry. Finnick is also there. Oh, God. If he wasn't, we could all save ourselves a world of hurt, but he is there. Katniss and Finnick see, like, this big map with all of these booby traps, and they're like, let the 76th annual Hunger Games begin. And now it's time for war. Okay, we are on the move. Well, we're about to be on the move, and then all of a sudden, a van pulls up. It's friendly. It's from the Resistance. PETA? Yeah, him. Crazy guy over here for now. Get better, please. Is on that van, and he has been added to their squad for propo purposes so they can get footage of him. Boggs, livid. Walks away instantly, makes a phone call. There's nothing he can do. PETA will be there. He pulls Katniss to the side. He's like, listen, you need to not be trusting anybody because Coin wants to kill you. Why else would she send PETA there, right? Katniss is a problem for Coin. Katniss is stubborn, she is strong-willed, and she's not going to do what anyone else tells her to do. When the time comes to elect a president of Panem after the revolution is over, whoever Katniss picks will probably win because of the amount of influence that Katniss has. So Boggs is like, would you endorse her? And Katniss is like thinking about it, and he's like, if your immediate answer is not yes, you are a problem and she is going to kill you. That is why she's here. She's done everything that she needs to do. You know, District 2 has finally joined the rebellion. All of the districts are united against the Capitol. So the only thing that Katniss could do now that would benefit the rebel forces is die to become a martyr. So Coin is being really suspicious, and she is definitely seeing if Katniss can just get murdered and become not her problem. Katniss has also decided in the back of her mind, in the way that she typically does, that she is going to break away from everyone else, steal Boggs's hollow, and go looking for Snow to assassinate him. She's very normal and chill and fine and cool. That's why. Gale clocks this really quickly and is like, so I'm coming with you when you do that. And I'll give him that. He does know her well when it comes to things that have to do with fury and rage and nothing to do with who she is as a person. So that's good, I guess. That night, Peeta isn't sleeping. He's constantly handcuffed right now because they don't trust him, which is probably fair and very valid. And he's kind of getting worked up because he's talking to Katniss and he's like, I just don't know what's real. I can't figure it out. And then Finnick is like, ask us. And that's when they develop a game called Real or Not Real, where in which he can ask anything that he wants and everyone answers and tells him whether or not it's a real memory. I think this is very good. He seems very open to it. There's also a moment where Katniss starts kind of listing all the things that she knows about Peeta, and it makes her very emotional because this is news to her. But she is in love with him. Anyway, they've been given a mission that's not really a real mission. It's just to get footage where they are going to go into a part of the Capitol that's already been basically deserted and set off some pods, cause some explosions, get some footage of it, and then be on their merry way. Boggs pulls out his hollow where he can see where all of the pods are and figure out which ones to disengage, what exactly they contain inside them, and he takes a step back to look at it. And he steps on a landmine and blows both of his legs off. Oh, well, fuck, you know? Fuck. No one thought that was going to happen. He's like, Katniss, bring me the hollow, because it kind of flew away from him when he flew off and broke his... Didn't break him. They're clean off his body, his legs. So she brings him the hollow. He, instead of transferring the, security clearance to Jackson, his number 2, like he's supposed to, instead... he gives it to Katniss, and he's like, do not trust anyone, kill Peeta if you have to, and do what you came here to do. And then he, dies. Yeah, I'm still pulling him off the board. They're trying to find cover, figure out what to do, and they see this huge wave of black, almost an ink-like consistency, a little thicker than that, coming towards them off of another pod. So they run into an apartment building. They're in there. They're trying to get their bearings of what's going on. One of the leagues has been injured by the shrapnel from the bomb. So they are going to stay behind and wait for someone to come evacuate them. They don't have contact with base, but once they get contact with base, they'll send someone for them. Jackson's like, okay, give me the hollow, Katniss. And she's like, excuse me? Give me the hollow. And she's like, I was sent here on a special mission. I have to kill Snow. You know, like a liar. No one told her. That's what she's doing. But she says Coin told her to do that. Coin didn't tell her to fucking do that. So then people are pointing guns at each other. Shit's getting a little crazy. And then Cressida steps between them and is like, it's true. Plutarch wants us to get it on film. And so Jackson kind of relents. And they head off to their next location. Oh, wait, something important. As they're making a run for it, Peeta starts having one of his episodes, and he does attack Katniss. He gets pulled off by Mitchell, but Peeta is very strong, if you will recall. We have unpower capped Peeta in this one. And he throws this guy Mitchell off, and Mitchell hits another pod that's like a bunch of razor sharp barbed wire, and he gets tangled up in that and dies. So Squad is on the move. They find their way to another apartment where they decide to rest for the night. Peeta is unconscious. They have sedated him, and he's having to be hauled around, so they do have to stop every so often. That night, there's a message on the Capitol TV, and it turns out that they think that everyone in the squad is dead because peacekeepers came instantly and blew up the building after they left. Now, unfortunately, this does mean that both of the League sisters inside are dead. But this is in a way an advantage because they are allowed to move almost anonymously because no one knows that they're alive. During this time too, Beetee also cuts in and is able to show Coin kind of lamenting Katniss. In the movie, they add a really nice touch where she's very obviously overacting because she's very matter of fact every other time. And Katniss is like, I had no idea she liked me so much. She's being sarcastic because Coin doesn't like her and wants her dead. Everyone's like, what should we do next? And Peeta is like, you should kill me. And everyone's like, I think maybe, any other suggestions? He calls himself a mutt, and they eat some food and settle in for the night. They're not gonna kill Peeta. You can't kill Peeta. Look at him. You can't kill Peeta. He's too sweet. They're trying to figure out what to do because they're going to be detected by cameras if they're out in the open, and then they're going to lose the advantage that they have of being dead. So they realize that Pollux the Avox used to work in the sewers. All Avoxes work down there, actually, turns out. Apparently he worked down there for 5 years, and they had to buy his way out of there. But because he knows the sewers well, they can use him as a guide through the sewers in order to get where they need to go very easily and undetected. So this is a great plan, and they're on their way. Everything is going fine. I just remembered what's about to happen. It really just hit me as I was talking. I don't want to look at who it is too long, but it's about to be really fucking bad. They stop for the night. Katniss is on watch, and she starts hearing this hissing sound, and it being like, and then fucking Peeta starts doing it too. And she's like, that's fucking weird. Everybody wake up. We're going. And she hears this getting closer and closer, and she sees these mutts. They are like these white, humanoid, like almost human, but they can't be. They don't really have the same faces. Their eyes are gone. You know, almost like a fucking monkey. Don't get me started on that again. They're getting closer and closer, and the closer they get, Katniss realizes that they have somehow been, like, infused with the overwhelming smell of roses. Snow is fucking with her still. All of these mutts are programmed to specifically kill Katniss. So they're ripping through people. Any other Avox down in the tunnel, murdered. They're getting really close, and then they have this big confrontation. We find out that Jackson and Holmes had stayed back to kind of push some of them off. Of course, they are now dead. Now all of them are gaining. They're getting bigger and bigger. There's so many of them. They're fighting them off as much as they can. Everyone's trying to make their way up out of the tunnels. And Katniss finally goes up, and Finnick should be right behind her. And then he is overtaken by a huge group of them. And I didn't write it. Really important that you know I didn't write this. But Finnick is dead. Sorry. In that last putsch, Pollux's brother Castor also dies in that same time period. So they make it out, they think they're in the clear, and then, oops, another pod. It's this beam of light that, like, incinerates people, and so Masala is also dead. They run up out of the sewer up onto the street, and Cressida is like, I know somewhere that we can go. There's a safe house over here. So they all run in that direction. So while this is all transpiring, Peeta's kind of doing that thing where he starts losing it a little bit and reality is slipping away from him. And Katniss is like, pull it together, please, pull it together, please, pull it together, please. And then she kisses him and says, stay with me. And he says, always. Ah! Peeta's back. Peeta's back. He's back. He's not fully back, but he's back enough for me. So Cressida takes them to this safe house, which is really a shop that is owned by Tigress. Tigress used to be a stylist until Snow decided he didn't like her anymore. There was a lot more lore to Tigress, but I'm not going to tell you it right now. You're going to have to watch the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes video. I don't know why I flipped you off. I'm so sorry about that. I'm trying to finish because my phone's about to die, so I'm talking really quickly now. She has a secret cellar that everyone can be in. Gale has a really bad wound on his neck, so they stitch that up, and everyone's kind of talking. And Katniss is like, I lied about having a mission to kill Snow. And everyone's like, yeah, we fucking know. You're a really bad liar. You can't act, girl. Katniss is like, but all these people died and it's my fault. And they're like, they knew what you were doing the whole time. They just acted like that to make you feel better, I guess, is why they were doing that. They knew. Everyone knew. They think if anyone's going to be able to do it, it's going to be you. And everyone loves and supports you. And Peeta says some nice things to her because he's being Peeta again. Katniss is like half asleep, and Peeta and Gale are up later, and they're talking to each other. Bad. And Katniss is like, what the fuck? And she's listening, and they're having a conversation, and basically like, oh, well, you do this for her. Oh, well, you do this for her. And they're kind of gratifying each other. And then Gale's like, all I know is that she'll pick the person she can't survive without. And he's about to make that decision pretty damn easy, I'll say that for sure. The center of the capital has become basically a refugee center because all of the outer neighborhoods have been slowly taken over and evacuated, so it's crammed full of people. The next morning, they decide that they can't stay there any longer. They should probably get on the move. They're really close to the president's mansion, and they want to go there so that Katniss can kill Snow. Everyone's kind of split up and going separate ways at this point. I believe the film crew is like heading back to 13 because they don't have anything to do with anything else that happens right now, but they're not. Yeah, well, the film crew is just Cressida and Pollux at this point, actually. But they just peace out and go because they don't have anything to do with this. But Peeta is like, I'm afraid I'm going to freak out again. I'm going to go off on my own and figure my shit out. Give me a nightlock pill in case I get captured so I can kill myself. And Gale gives him his pill. Katniss and Gale head towards the president's mansion. They have a conversation. If one of them gets captured, kill the other one, especially since Gale does not have his nightlock pill. They're getting closer and closer, and then stuff starts happening. All of a sudden, there's bullets coming from every direction. There's this very vivid thing in the book about a little girl in a yellow coat because Suzanne Collins is a sadist, and how Katniss is like transfixed on this little girl and then watches her get shot with her family. Cool, Suzanne. So glad you did that to me. And then peacekeepers come up and they get Gale, and he's going, shoot me, and Katniss doesn't do it. In the book, she can't understand what he's saying and then realizes after the fact that he said, shoot me. I don't really know why she doesn't do it in the movie. I guess, like, a moment of hesitation. I don't really know. I think they probably could have done some a little better than that. Katniss sees this platform, lamppost, either one. It's different. The book and movie doesn't matter. She elevates herself above and sees that all of the capital's children have been put inside this, like, one cement barrier. It's kind of because they're trying to get them out first. It's kind of because it's really good protection for Snow to have a bunch of kids in the way. It's like a human shield because that's just who he is as a person. Katniss is looking out over at everything, and then she sees these silver parachutes, like what you used to get in the arena whenever you got like something from a sponsor, start to fall out of the sky. They're making that same gentle tinkling sound. All the children are reaching up for them, and then the second they have them, they all explode. It was a bomb. All of these children are dead or gravely wounded. Then all of the medics come in, including some rebel medics. You might know where this is going. Sorry, my phone died, and if I look significantly more sweaty, it's because I let it charge and then went and did little errands I needed to do because I need to be leaving for South Carolina now. So let's wrap this up, shall we? This angle might be slightly different. Honestly, I like this one better. Wish it was like that for the whole video. It's so fine. Where were we? Oh, parents and the medics, even rebel medics, start to rush in. You might know where this is going. And as they get closer, Katniss realizes that she sees very familiar blonde hair, a little shirt untucked in the back. She realizes that somehow Prim has made her way to the Capitol with the team of medics at 13 years old. And she is going to help all of the injured children. And then, as she gets into the area and everyone starts helping, the second bomb goes off. 3 books. And then she just dies at the end. Mm-mm. I mean, I get it, but Suzanne, come on. Katniss is also blown back by the second blast. It's much larger than the first. That might sound familiar to you. And she is burnt slap up. And we have like a hard cut, and then Katniss wakes up and she is in the damn hospital again. Because that's her favorite place to be. In the book, Katniss is spending a lot of time just wishing she was dead. There's a lot of very blatant suicidal ideation going on at this point in time. And at another point a little bit later as well, she'll feel that way. She slowly starts to regain herself and enter the world. Katniss is obviously heartbroken. She's very numb to the pain. She gets out of the hospital. She ends up staying in the president's mansion. She spends most of her time wandering around. One day she happens upon a greenhouse that's being guarded by armed guards. And she walks up to them and they're like, you cannot come in here. The reason she wants to go in there is because she wants to find the perfect rose to put in Snow's lapel when she kills him, because she's being petty, and I like it. Commander Paler walks up behind her and is like, let her in there. She has every right to whatever is behind that door. Odd wording, but okay. So she walks in, she finds the perfect rose, she goes to pluck it, and then she hears, that's a beautiful choice. Snow is in there. In there. He is in there. That's where they're holding him. He's looking a little worse for wear. There's blood on his handkerchief. He's coughing all the time. Katniss can't really tell if it's an act or if it's real or not. It's pretty much real, I'm sure. He also says, colors are nice, but there's nothing like the purity of white. What? Run that by me again? What? Say that one more time? What? I mean, I'm not surprised, but like, oh my god. Ah! Here's the thing, though. They start having a conversation, and Snow's like, let me first just say I am so sorry to hear about your sister. What a waste and unnecessary cost of human life that was. And Katniss is like, what? It's like, when they did that, she's like, they? Who the fuck is they? They is you. You did it. What do you mean? He's like, no, I didn't. Don't you think that if I had access to a hovercraft with the Capitol emblem on it, I would have used it to escape? I was just about to surrender when that happened. I have to admit, it was a good plan by Coin, though. This is still him, not me. I realized I did that for too long. He says that it was actually a very brilliant plan that Coin had, because Snow was focused on Katniss, and Katniss was focused on Snow, and during that whole time, Coin was able to operate in the background and have everyone fighting each other, but District 13 remained completely untouched. And they weren't thinking about her, they were thinking about each other. Katniss is like, I don't believe you. There's no way she did that. And Snow's like, I thought we agreed never to lie to each other. He's such a good villain. Oh my god, he's such a good villain. And also, somehow the bomb was live broadcast to everyone in the Capitol. And Snow's like, doesn't that sound like a real media opportunity? Sounds like a really savvy game maker would do something like that, doesn't it? And then he also says, wait, what does he say? I lost my train of thought. Wait, what does he say? And then he also says that because now everyone thinks that he killed all of the Capitol's children, every single last guard that he had turned against him. It was a brilliant final move to make sure that it was impossible for the fighting to continue. But then, of course, there are all of the innocent children. He's so compelling. It's crazy. So Katniss leaves, head full of conflicting ideas. There's two options to her. One, the Capitol did do it. Snow is bluffing and trying to get in her head as one final act of sabotage. Or option two, it was Coin, and she killed her sister, killed innocent children. And, now that Katniss is thinking about it, that design for that bomb does sound familiar. If you will recall, At one point, Beatty and Gale are talking about different traps based off of hunting techniques, and then they also start talking about playing on human emotions, and the way that this bomb goes off is the exact way that Gale and Beatty talk about setting it up. Huh. So, Katniss is feeling confused. She feels like Snow is probably telling the truth, but she's trying to believe him for certain. So then she is sent into another room where every living victor is there and Coin. Coin tells them all that there have been discussions happening and she would like their opinion on the possibility of having a final symbolic Hunger Games. With the Capitol's children. And she wants all of them to vote on it. And they might just send, 24 more innocent children to die as a spectacle. She says this is the way they can think of that will be the least loss of human life. But I say, why not execute the war criminals? It's kind of giving. Here's what it's kind of giving. It's kind of giving after World War II, America taking in all the fucking Nazi scientists because they were smart. That's kind of what it's giving. I don't think she really wants to assassinate the officials from the Capitol because she probably sees them as useful, so she'd rather kill their kids instead. In my personal opinion, that just came to me in a vision. I did not write that down anywhere. I just thought of that in this exact moment. I'm actually very proud of it. Listen, something else I want to say. If you've read the book and watched the movie, it is so clear that internally Katniss hates everything about what Coin has just offered up as a solution. So if you are of the camp that thinks that what she's about to do in a couple minutes was a completely spontaneous act, I need you to take a class. I don't care what it's about. I just need you to learn something, because that's scary that you didn't pick up on that. Anyway, so here's how the voting breaks down. Enabaria and Joanna say yes. I think that this makes perfect sense for Joanna's character. She's a little spiteful. I think that she would just want it to happen and get it over with. Peeta and Annie also says Finnick would also vote no, and Beatty votes no as well. He says it sets a terrible precedent, and he is, of course, fucking correct. Then they're like, okay, it is down to Katniss and Haymitch. Katniss is looking at Coin long and hard. In the movie, this is when she says, I get to kill Snow for the first time. And Coin's like, of course. So I think in the movie, that's when the plan clicks in. But this scene, either way, is where the plan clicks in. And she says, I vote yes for Prem. And then she's kind of side-eyeing at Haymitch, hoping that he understands her. We're putting to the test how much they really are alike and how much they're in each other's minds. And Haymitch looks over at her, and it's almost like he has this moment of understanding. And then he says, I'm with the Mockingjay. So, officially, this is going to go forward. There's more yeses than nos. There will be a symbolic Hunger Games of the Capitol officials' children. They're going to announce it that evening after the execution of Snow. So now it's time to execute President Snow. Coriolanus Snow, your time has come. We're going to see a younger version of you soon, and somehow you got very attractive. It's this huge spectacle and ceremony. It's taking place where the tribute parade normally is. Coin is standing up high in this grand place, the same place where Snow normally stands. And she comes out and she starts giving this rousing speech about how now Panem's going to change forever. She also had mentioned earlier that she was going to humbly take over as interim president in the time being because emotions were so high they couldn't have an actual election. So she's kind of just replacing Snow completely and everything about him. So Katniss walks up. We also see her while she's getting ready put a nightlock pill in her uniform. Why do you need that? We know why she needs that. She walks up. She sees Snow. He's like shackled to a pole. He can't move. She brings her bow and arrow up, points her arrow at him, and then raises it at the last second and shoots President Coin instead. Baller. Baller bitch. Honestly, gives you chills. Should at least. It's so well done. Coin falls from the balcony. She is dead. Everyone kind of crowds in on what's going on, and President Snow at some point in this exchange dies as well. We're not sure exactly what goes on, if he's trampled or if it's a heart attack or what, but he's dead, so it doesn't matter. He's gone. He's no one's problem anymore. Katniss goes to take her nightlock pill, but then PETA steps up and stops her from doing it, and she's like, what the fuck, just let me die, dude, just let me die, because she's like that most of the time, and he was like that earlier too. Interesting. Oh my god, wait, I skipped something. Fuck, I skipped something important. I'm so sorry. Before any of this happened, Gale does visit Katniss before the execution, and she's like, was it your bomb? He's like, I don't know. Does it matter? Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Yeah, it does. And he's like, you'll never know for sure and you can't forgive me. And that's true. But like the way that you're approaching this as if it's her fault that you had a fucking sadistic ass idea and then someone used it and killed a bunch of people with it. That's not her fault. I think she's allowed to feel how she wants to feel. Bitch, what the fuck? I hate you. Oh my god, I can't stand him. Oh my god. We're nearing the end, so I'm allowing myself. Okay, so Katniss is dragged away by soldiers. She is put in a cell. Now, in the book, this goes on for like months and she starts going crazy. She also is covered in like brand new skin grafts because she was hurt so badly when that bomb went off by her. None of this is in the movie, but she basically resigns herself to die, starts taking morphling, refuses to eat. This is where like the suicidal ideation is like tippity top of it has ever been for her. I don't think we'll ever get this much blatant, just like listing ways that she could possibly kill herself from her. Suzanne, these are YA books. Eventually, Haymitch comes in to get her. In the movie, this happens like probably like a day at the most. It's not long at all. Now, here's a big departure because this is the main thing where after Philip Seymour Hoffman died, it's obvious that they kind of didn't know what to do. So, in the book, Plutarch and Haymitch have a conversation with Katniss where she is told she will go back to District 12 and she has to stay there and Haymitch will be staying with her. In the movie, Haymitch comes in and reads a letter to Katniss from Plutarch, which obviously isn't as visually interesting, but I think is a great solution for the problem that had presented itself to them. And they wrote it in a way where it made sense for his character. They added stuff in like, I couldn't be seen with you because I don't want it to hurt my reputation. And he's very like that. He's been playing both sides since before the 50th Hunger Games. We know that for sure. So 15 years at the least. Anyway, so Katniss goes back to District 12 with Haymitch. They are there alone. Haymitch kind of disappears. Has access to alcohol again. He gets drunk. He stays drunk. This is extended in the book as well. It's honestly one of the best like written things describing depression that I've ever read. It's really well done. The way that Suzanne Collins describes Katniss's depression at this point in time and how something kind of serves as a catalyst for her. So she's unmoving. She's sitting there. She won't take a bath. Greasy Say, who used to work at the Hob, comes and is making her meals twice a day. She has no interest in anything. She's barely even eating the food Greasy Say is making her. She's stuck in her head. She sits all day, stares at the fire, doesn't do anything. Because the other thing is that Katniss's mother has just decided not to return to District 12. I guess it's too painful for her. I understand that. I can't imagine going back to a place where you lost both your husband and your youngest daughter and then having to face it. But it's just more of that repeated pattern where Katniss has always had to be an adult and has never really had a mother because her mother views her as completely self-sufficient. And that's just really unfair to Katniss because she deserves a mom. She deserves a mom there to comfort her because she lost her sister and she's by herself. And she has no one there. And so I feel bad for Katniss's mother. but at the same time it's very upsetting to me. It makes me angry as well. This probably goes on for weeks. One day Katniss hears some noise outside, and she goes outside and sees Peeta is back, and he's planting something. Goes up to him and she's like, "Oh my god, you're back." And he's like, "I thought we could plant some of these for her." And it's primrose bushes. Peeta, Peeta, Peeta. It's a bunch of primrose bushes. And they hug, and Katniss is crying. And it's just very moving. And you can tell that Peeta is fully himself again, as much as he can be. That confusion is gone. He's kind of worked out in his memory what's real and what's not. And there are definitely still times where he feels bad, but he has a handle on it. He's learned how to cope. You can tell that they've missed each other. This is like a catalyst for Katniss. It allows her to kind of bring herself out of her funk. I don't say funk lightly. I love describing my little problems that I have as funks as well. It's a little nice way to put it, instead of I stared at a wall all day long and thought about nothing. So she takes a shower. She finally washes her hair. She starts doing all this. She remembers that Snow left that ugly rose in her bedroom. And she goes up there and she takes it out and she smashes the pot and she burns all the flowers. Peeta starts coming over and making food with her. They're spending a lot of time together. And they find each other again. We start to learn through different ways what's happened to the different characters. So, in the book, Plutarch has become director of communications. Gale has taken a job in District 2. Of course, her mom is in the capital. Annie has had a baby. It turns out she was pregnant when Finnick left. It's very devastating. I feel very normal about that. And everyone else is kind of doing whatever. We're mainly going to be talking about these three for the rest of this. They become close again. It's literally just three of them. Slowly, people start to come back to District 12, and things start to get better. Oh my god, wait, one more thing. At one point, Buttercup manages to come in through a window. Somehow, that cat made it back to District 12, and Katniss loses it on this cat. Because she's like, she's not here, go away, she's not here. Because that cat's kind of all that's left of Prim. So she like has a complete breakdown. Honestly, Jennifer Lawrence doing this in the movie, fantastic. She does a wonderful job. And then like holds the cat and becomes close with the cat. And I just think that's so sweet. And then they all start to settle into their new normals. Katniss hunts, Peeta bakes, Haymitch raises his geese. More on that later. And the meadow, which was being used as a mass grave during the cleanup of 12, finally starts to grow grass again. You know what? Fuck it. I'm reading you the last paragraph of this book verbatim. I can't handle not doing it. Peeta and Katniss end up together, as they always would have. I want to read you exactly what Suzanne Collins wrote about the two of them in this book. Peeta and I grow back together. There are still moments when he clutches the back of a chair and hangs on until the flashbacks are over. I wake screaming from nightmares of mutts and lost children. But his arms are there to comfort me. And eventually, his lips. On the night I feel that thing again, the hunger that overtook me on the beach, I know this would have happened anyway. That what I need to survive is not Gale's fire, kindled with rage and hatred. I have plenty of fire myself. What I need is the dandelion in the spring, the bright yellow that means rebirth instead of destruction. The promise that life can go on no matter how bad our losses. That it can be good again. And only Peeta can give me that. So after, when he whispers, "You love me, real or not real," I tell him, real. What if I cried? Hey, what if I cried? Okay, so that's the end of the book technically, but there is an epilogue. Years and years pass. Katniss and Peeta decide to have children. If you think that Peeta forced her to have kids, y'all are scaring me. The media literacy is in the toilet. I think it's very obvious that you can say you don't want to have kids when the world is on fire, and the mere thought of having a kid means that you would be subjecting them to maybe have to play a game where they fight to the death, is a very different world than a free one. I think that might change your perspective on having children. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. Y'all need to stop being dumb about this book. The worst takes I've ever seen about this book specifically. Cut it out. They have two children, a girl with dark hair and blue eyes, and a little boy with blonde curls and gray eyes. I wasn't gonna read anymore. I'm gonna read you part of the epilogue also because it's so good. I can't say it better than Suzanne Collins when it comes to the end of this, so I'm just gonna let her do it. I'm just gonna read it to you. This is part of the epilogue. The questions are just beginning. The arenas have been completely destroyed, the memorials built, there are no more Hunger Games. But they teach about them at school, and the girl knows we played a role in them. The boy will know in a few years. How can I tell them about that world without frightening them to death? My children, who take the words of the song for granted, and then it's the song she sang to Prue as she died because Suzanne Collins is crazy. My children, who don't know they play on a graveyard. PETA says it will be okay. We have each other. And the book. We can make them understand in a way that will make them braver. But one day, I'll have to explain about my nightmares. Why they came, why they won't ever really go away. I'll tell them how I survive it. I'll tell them that on bad mornings, it feels impossible to take pleasure in anything because I'm afraid it could be taken away. That's when I make a list in my head of every act of goodness I've seen someone do. It's like a game. Repetitive, even a little tedious after more than 20 years. But there are much worse games to play. I don't know what I could even possibly say. I kind of want to just end it right there, but this is a YouTube channel, so I'm going to have to give y'all an annoying spiel. That's the ending of the original Hunger Games trilogy. Thank you so much for watching. I think next week I'm going to upload a supercut of all 3 parts together if you're looking for a little marathon, if you watched the first video a year and a half ago when it first came out, or if you just want to see everything back to back, I will oblige you. If you want to subscribe, I would really appreciate it. I think it would do us both some good. Like this video, send it to your friends. I do love making these, but they are also so time consuming. I listened to an entire audiobook this week on 1.7 speed because when I put it on 2 times, I said, oh, too fast, brain can't handle. And then I cut all these pictures out last night. My ink budget through the fucking roof. But I enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy it too, and I am so thankful for you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Oh my god, the sunken inness of my eyes rivals PETA Malark.